I wanted to continue with this grid discussion. Now that I have the image gridded next to the board that's gridded, my board is slightly larger, so I kind of cropped it off. But you've got your 5 by 7 areas on your 10 by 14 board. And on here it's every 2 by 2. And over here it's every 2 by 2. But we'll get to places most likely that we'll divide it into 1 by 1 and half by half. But I very lightly labeled A, B, C, D, E, F, G, both sides, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On the corners I have A1, and I have 5A, 5G, and G1. So basically, you can't label on your board on the sides. You won't have this little edge to have the luxury of that. So hopefully you can see this. I wanted to go through some examples of where you might need the highlighter, colored pencil, whatever you need to do to figure out these areas that are challenging, or keep doing different papers. Once you use that, once you kind of get the rendering done and you start painting, it'll be nice to have a good printed image, ideally on photo paper, but as long as it's a good image. We don't want to have some weird blurry pixelated thing. Alright, so I'm going to do some little tricks to show you how to go about this. I really hope you can see this. Okay. Alright, so here I have G1. G1, there is nothing in there. I'm off the hook. But instead of going to see the whole picture, I want to go square by square. So G1 is empty, G2 is empty, G3 is empty, and so on. Then I'm going to go to the next row, F. Empty. Oh, something's going on here in F2. In F2, I'm going to, let's just say, I'm just going to do this. I have so many different highlighters. It's like, I just love that stuff. I just love anything that makes it a little easier to see. Plus, when you grid, I told you before, you might even need a white pencil or something, because if you're gridding over something dark, especially if you chose a dark picture, it's really hard to do. Now, even though this particular, well, there's some stuff here, but let's just start with this. Try not to think of the whole picture. I'm in F2, and this is what I'm experiencing. Now, this isn't the most complicated square, but it's an opportunity for me to go, all right, now if this is something that you can wipe off, I don't know, I'm not going to use pink over there, but I can picture this and I'll do it with pencil. Okay, F2, not that you can't cover that, you could cover anything really with paint eventually, but you'd have to do more layers and there might be a little pink hue sticking through, so I'm not going to deal with this. But it keeps me on track. In fact, I could even just do something like that to know, okay, this is where I am, F2. Now in F2, the bottom two, if I were to split this again to help figure out, the real key to this is this square. That is the key, and that little bit there. So in order to get this exactly right, to be neurotically accurate, which is very helpful, is in F2, I'm going to either take a ruler, in fact, I will. It's better. And I'm going to figure out where half is, which is an inch. And I'm going to figure out where half is, which is an inch. Very lightly, whoops, pencil in this area. Now this now matches this. And this, as I said, this is a key area of interest right in there. Very key. Okay, so now this is when you grab your homemade viewfinder and you put it here. And you go, okay, what is going on in that square? Even without the help of this, I can get a sense from the T-square. In fact, I like to do this. of the viewfinder, is if you go like this, like if you're in a drawing class and you're trying to measure a still life, and you put that in half, it makes it way easier to compare how far something is over versus how high it is, how wide it is. Same thing here. Based on the entire surface area of this square, and this helps us eliminate the distraction of everything else. You can flip it this way too. I don't want to deal with this whole planetary experience up in here. This is just where I need to be, right here, in this moment. So I'm looking at this square. Truly, I mean, this sounds very, like, compulsively specific, but it makes all the difference. So a lot of times what I do, which is great about marking up a picture, is I will fill the negative space with either a marker, a colored pencil, a highlighter, whatever it is, okay? Now I'll duplicate that shape over here. It's like double checking yourself, because we're human, we're gonna mess up, so we might as well get it perfect. As perfect as we can. So I've got this cool little boom, this triangle. This triangle barely fits in there. And then I have this shape that it doesn't take up half, it takes up slightly more than half. Just about teetering on 2/3. So I'm gonna kind of match that as best as I can, okay? As best. The angle, people get this wrong all the time. When I come around and check grids, it's like people just go, oh, whatever, it's a triangle. No, 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 no. You got to get this severely correct. And you probably can't even see this, but there's a little triangle here, and then there's a little dip here. And this process allows you to develop a relationship with your subject. If you don't know how it moves, you won't be able to paint it as well as if you started exploring this now. I mean, you don't have to get everything, like every little, but you could. Wouldn't hurt. Chances are you're going to paint over it 10 times, so it's kind of a waste, but it's still a process of figuring out. Now, instead of me trying to figure out where that goes and where that goes and all that stuff, I'm not going to do that. Now I'm going to go here. Alright, and in this square, I might not need to split it up. It goes from here. Oh, this is the other thing. If you can find where it hits there, and then figure out where it hits there, like here it goes close to the top, it's kind of like here, then you can just connect them. But I'm still not thinking about the subject. I'm thinking about the shape of the square and the proportions of the things in it. That's enough for that square. There's a little more information here. It doesn't feel as complex, so then I'm going to go to the next one. Well, not much going on there. I see a little thing there. And see, if it gets wobbly and stuff as you go, it doesn't matter, because you're going to go square by square by square all the way, and when you're completely done, then what we're going to do, especially in these geometric shapes, is find the point where that hits. This hits on E halfway through 5, so it's down here. It's E, halfway through E and halfway through 5. So again, I can split this up. You can eyeball it, but it's better to use a thing. But you get used to measuring after a while without a ruler. Alright, so if I were to split up E over here, oh, this is key right here, okay. This little bit right there, see that little shape? It goes up to here. That is key, because that's E, and E is here, and E goes from this to this. So I'm here, And if I go over to the halfway point here, which is this, I don't even think you can see me over there, so I'm not going to go with that. I think I can get to 4. All right, so let's do 4. I'm going to see if you can, let me see if you can see what I'm doing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, you can pretty much see it. Let me see if I can do this a little. Oh, that's better. Okay. So I have E split right here. And see, this is the thing. When you get lost, when you get confused, when there's no sense of an anchor, and people get off one rung, and the next thing you know, it's a disaster. So if you feel a little overwhelmed and it's like too much, take a different color and outline the square that you were trying to draw. In that case, E5. So I could outline it here with green. I just don't want to. So I'm going to do it just because I don't know what's going to happen with those highlighters. I usually work with paint, so just pencil's fine. Just make it darker. Alright, so now I'm like, this is where I am. This is where I am. I have a sense of reality. These are empty. These are empty. This is the area of concern. Rather than try to draw all this stuff and figure this stuff out, I'm going to break it down into just this square, because this is one of the most difficult squares, I think, in the whole entire thing. So I'm looking at this here. I'm going to just put a little so I know. Alright, so in that square, there's a whole bunch going on, and I'm not worried about it. I'm going to go like this and take a look and see. I'll just look at this one little square. Let's see here. There we go, that's better. In this one little square, there's an backwards L. You can see it. If you can match that L shape, then you got it. You got it together, because this shape goes with this square. So again, this viewfinder, any colors, any references you can use to help get each square together. I've got a little swoop, and that's also a great way to evolve as an artist, is to just have these weird conversations with yourself about, okay, here's a swoop, here's that little circle, here's this strange amoeba shape, here's this triangle. That's what causes things to turn out beautifully realistic, is that you're having a conversation with yourself about shapes and values and the way it moves, and it's just a weird, like, and if you can see things like an eye, a nose, whatever it is you see, if you can match it, that's the key. Like this swoop takes up about half that whole square. So I'm going to put that swoop right in here with the blobs and everything else. I mean, this is going to make the picture, that's what makes the picture look good. And these areas obviously are complex enough to justify my, I'm just going to make this darker so you can see what I'm talking about. See how this, and you can even fill it. That helps a lot too. Value is a great tool for rendering. It's not just for decoration. Okay, see how now this little tiny little square matches this little tiny little square, which gives me an anchor for all the simplicity that is around. There's a lot of complexity in here. Paintings are never simple. There's just no way, but at least in the interim, when it seems simple, we can still use these little complex shapes, break them down. Look at this. This goes here. And this whole process is the beginning of my relationship with the subject. It's time-consuming, it's difficult, it's frustrating. Painters are a unique breed of people. If things aren't right, they fix them. There's a patience, there's an opening that happens. Like in here, this whole space has its own life. And so I'm getting lost in this, not in whatever the hell this thing, sorry, I don't mean to curse, but whatever the heck this whole thing is. It's irrelevant. This is where I live, right here, right now. So this is my focus. If I can get this right, I'm good. So a trick for connecting later, especially with linear perspective, bottles, boxes, anything, is in here, find a point where the object ends, which is here. Mark it over here the same. Travel over here to our original square. Where's the corner there? Mark it here. Then you're free to go like this. That's how you clean it up in the end. So make it wobbly as you need. It just means, if it's wobbly, it just means you're not being as accurate as you could be. But there's ways to connect this to this to this. This corner is in E 1.5, so E 1.5 here falls. And again, I can always break it in. And if you're worried, just start the whole thing broken in. I'm just doing the areas I feel uncomfortable with. Use your viewfinder, big time. This is a rounded edge, but it's still helpful for me to know where this thing ends. So in this square, this ends right around here. So now I can connect this over here. It's a great way to back up your linear perspective if you've got bottles or, you know, metal that are angular. It's a long haul, but I wanted you to see kind of why we made the viewfinder, why the highlighters are helpful, and how it relates to drawing it in pencil on your board.